In 2025, and I still have to make this episode because there are still people out there who think the keto diet is a reliable solution, strategy for their situation to help them to get healthier, to lose some extra weight, or whatever else there is. In this episode, I'm going to break down what the keto diet exactly is, if and how you would actually do it, for who it makes sense and for who it doesn't make sense. The keto diet has in the recent years gained a lot of popularity, although it has been quote unquote invented somewhere in the 1900s already. It essentially just means a close to zero carbohydrate diet. You're not going to have zero carbohydrates because that's very, very difficult to actually do. But on average, you should be below 50 grams of total carbohydrates per day. And the theory behind it is if you're not ingesting more than that, your body goes into ketosis and uses fat as fuel. And somebody who doesn't maybe fully understand the whole picture thinks then, if my body uses fat as fuel, that means I'm going to burn more fat. That's already where the first mechanically you could argue for that, but in the end it doesn't matter. Let me explain you why. If your body uses more fat to keep itself alive, to do certain metabolic processes, it sounds like good. But if the thing that you're feeding your body in the first place is almost essentially fat, is cycling that out, right? If your body starts using the fuel that you give him, then it doesn't have to do anything with the body fat that you're losing, right? Feed your body dietary fat, he's going to use that in some way or another, right? So nothing magical about that. Now, what you also have to keep in mind is ketosis. Yes, our body can get into ketosis, no doubt about that. I'm not gonna here to argue that. That's a legitimate thing. The only problem is it's not necessarily, or it's not at all a more fat burning state than any other deficit, because what you have to understand fundamentally, and no diet in the world is going to work without that, is a keto diet only works as long as you're in a calorie deficit. If you're eating a quote unquote keto diet, but you're still eating more calorie than your body is using, that is burning, so to say, you'll not lose any fat. What a lot of people think, or what happens to them, is they jump on a ketogenic diet, and within the first 1 or 2 weeks, they drop a lot of weight, 3, 4, 5 kilos in some cases. This doesn't even have to be necessarily coming from body fat, because we don't want to lose quote unquote weight. We want to lose weight that is entirely body fat. Because when you jump on a ketogenic diet, let's walk this through. You jump on a ketogenic diet, you cut out virtually all carbs. And what you're going to do is you're going to start depleting your glycogen. Your muscles have glycogen storages, meaning they can store sugar for exercise, for certain activities throughout the day. And of course, if you're not replenishing them, if you're not feeding your body carbohydrates again, your body is going to start using that glycogen in your muscle. And for every 1 gram of glycogen you store in your body stores an additional 3 grams of water with it. So you can imagine, if you just lose a few hundred grams, let's say you're losing throughout the first process, you're losing 500 grams of total glycogen, because you store glycogen in your muscles, you store also glycogen in your liver. You lose 500 grams of glycogen, and that comes with additional 3 grams each of them water. So that means 2 kilos could be off the scale. You think, oh my God, I'm losing weight, I'm doing well. But you haven't lost a single gram of body fat, because you essentially just lost the carbs in your muscles plus some water with it. And what that's going to do, because glycogen also makes you look more jacked, makes you look more muscular. Because if you have less glycogen in your muscles, they're not going to be as full. And if you also take the water out, you're going to have less water in your muscles. Keep in mind, your muscles are 70% water. And if you take out a significant amount of water of that, they're going to look smaller. They're also not going to be able to perform as good because the undefeated form of energy for your body, for your muscle, is glucose, which is carbohydrates. For your brain, for your muscles, for every elite performance. There is only a few handful of like outliers, but every elite athlete in this world runs on high carbs. Why? Because it's the best fuel. Now coming back to the ketogenic diet and what that could mean for you. Can you lose some weight on the ketogenic diet? Yes, 100%. No question about that. The only question is then, or you have to like ask yourself like 2 questions in that regard. Like, is this going to be 3 questions actually? What I always tell my clients, my members of the Fit High Performer is, or a rule that I tell them, if you can't do it for a decade, then don't even do it for a day. And the same goes with a ketogenic diet. Can you see yourself doing this for a whole decade, following that approach? The keto police is just coming because they're... Can you see yourself doing that for a whole decade? Because if you can't sustain it, that's why one of the big problems that we have. If you can't sustain it, how are you going to maintain your... Like, you're not going to do an 8-week diet, get in shape, and then never have to do anything about it. The way you get in shape is the way you stay in shape. And if you can't see yourself continue doing a ketogenic diet, then it's most likely probably also not the best idea to do so. Now, the next thing. Is the diet that I'm doing, or the approach that I'm doing, is it only essentially like helping me lose weight, or is it also going to help me optimize my health? Because there are a lot of ways how you can lose weight. Like, but that doesn't mean it's going to be healthy. Like if you eat, like just make the extreme example. If you go to parties and do cocaine and do sorts of drugs and you're just like not going to eat at all, like you're going to lose some weight. But is that healthy? Probably not. Probably not. So only because it makes you lose weight doesn't mean it's going to be healthy. In general, yes, if you're in a metabolically unhealthy position and you have like high LDL and all these sort of things, yes, losing weight is in almost all situations going to be positive for your health outcome. But it can still make a major difference if you're doing that the right way, or if you're doing it in a way that is maybe not like health consequence and longevity wise the best idea. Another problem is with the ketogenic diet, because you cut out, what does the keto diet do and why does it actually work so well? Why do people report feeling full? Because the thing is, like, dietary fat makes you feel full because it slows down your digestion. And if your digestion slows down, you feel fuller quickly. Now, what it is also at the same time, it's a hyper-restrictive diet. Next to carnivore, I don't know any other diet that is as restrictive as ketogenic. There is, because you're cutting pretty much fruit, you're cutting out a mass majority of vegetables, you're cutting out every whole grains, all sorts of whole grains you're cutting out. You're cutting out also legumes, beans, lentils, all that type of thing. So like you're left with like a very small food selection. Very small. Like essentially like you're going to some sort of vegetables, meat, cheese, dairy products, eggs maybe. And that's then soon to be it. The question is now, okay, coming back to the health situation is, can you do a healthy ketogenic diet? Like theoretically you can, but it's very, very, like you have to put in a lot of effort. The problem is people think that, oh yeah, like I skip carbs, I cut out bread, I'm going to have my eggs and bacon for breakfast because it's keto and that's healthy. Like, yeah, you're going to put your body into like with a lot of saturated fats, which is going to increase your LDL cholesterol. And that's going to then long term also increase your risk of metabolic and cardiovascular disease. Yes, you maybe feel great short term because your body, you've never been in ketosis and you've never known how that feels and like you have stable energy. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be long term healthy. Like you could feel fine, but internally you could build up a ton of plaque, arteriosclerosis, plaque buildup in your blood vessels and your arteries. And you don't feel that. You really don't feel that. You can only measure that with blood. And like all the keto and carnivore crowd, they're like, oh yeah, like I feel great, I feel awesome. Blood work, LDL, my ApoB, like I don't look at that. It doesn't matter. It's just like how I feel. And then one after the other starts cranking down, dying. All of a sudden. Why? Because they didn't think that they have to pay attention to actual health metrics that have been proven over and over to be a reliable measurement for your health status, for your longevity, and then just going off the basis, oh, I feel amazing. Because you could technically also, like, if you take drugs and if you never really come off, like, you will feel great probably all the time. Probably not going to be the healthiest thing, right? So not to compare a ketogenic diet with any sort of drug, but you get the point. And lastly, which is probably like, for my personal situation, probably that would be or in general, that would be the one that things are make or break it. A ketogenic diet is socially very difficult to justify and to adhere to. And if you say like, oh, I'm doing a ketogenic diet, and then like every now and then, like you're like, oh, no, every now and then, like I still eat out with friends, I have a pizza and everything, I have some beers, like you're not doing a ketogenic diet. You're just looking for a shortcut and like being not consistent with it. I hate to tell you the truth, but that is it. If you're okay with every invitation, every business meeting, every client dinner, every social interaction, you're gonna either bring your own food or you're gonna make them very, very clear what your diet is gonna be like, and you're also not gonna have any alcohol because that's also not gonna fit into a ketogenic diet. You're not gonna have any dessert. You're not going to have any pizza. Only you can scratch off the cheese and maybe a little bit of the tomato sauce, and then you're going to be happy with that. Or will you? Or will you not? I didn't want to mention that, honestly, but there's also like this other thing that comes into place with a lot of people do report something called the keto breath. The keto breath, I mean, fortunately, I've never actually like walked into someone who's like very heavily invested into that, but I know there are. I see a lot of them like online, and like also when I talk to people that reach out to me on social media, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and ask me or ask them what they're currently doing, and they're doing a keto diet and they're super invested into it. The keto breath is essentially like you're stinking the hell out of your mouth. You're big time stinking out of your mouth because of certain metabolic processes that happen in your body. Like even if you brush your teeth, it's not much going to do about it. Your mouth starts fucking stinking. And I mean, that by it of itself, like it's socially inconvenient. Plus at the same time, like if you hate people and if you want to be isolated and want to be all by yourself and like, do a ketogenic diet, probably like a good idea. Although if you want to maintain like most social creatures or most humans' social connections, you might want to do something that is like socially a little bit more doable, that still gives you enjoyment and has to do that. Because the thing is like, yeah, like I said, like you can do a ketogenic diet, but again, you lose some weight, you lose some water weight in particular, and then you start eating carbs again on your next client meeting and you're going to blow up. So why not in the first place do it properly? Why not in the first place do it with the carbs in there? Because that's essentially also what we're doing inside our program, the Fit High Performer. By the way, if you want to have some more info, down below in the show notes, in the description, we have a link where we break down the exact 4-phase transformation system that we used to transform hundreds of high-performing men executives without having to do keto, without having to spend hours in the gym, without having to give up their lifestyle or compromise their career. Again, the exact 4-phase system down below. It's under thefithighperformer.com/free training. You can have access to it, watch it, and then see exactly step by step how we do that. Because to give you a little bit of an explanation, like how we do it, nutrition is going to be the thing that makes or breaks it. You're going to only lose fat if you're in a calorie deficit. That's the fundamental law of thermodynamics. Like like objective truth. And everybody that tries to tell you like, oh no, it's the insulin model, it's because of carbs and whatnot, they're full of shit. Like, no diet, like I said in the beginning, no diet in this world is not going to work. No diet in this world is going to work if you're not in a calorie deficit in the first place. You can do these things in a different place. You can still have a calorie deficit diet approach, so to say. Diet way of eating, that's what diet means. You can still have that while still be able to have some beers with your friends, while still having dinners with your guests, with your clients, have business lunches, have all these sort of things without having to worry or give up on that. Like I said, again, description down below in the free training, we go also over that. Because in the end, it's just about like, how can you find a system that you can integrate into your lifestyle that gives you the least amount of restrictions, but gives you the maximum results. We're going to talk about that in a future episode too, the 80-20 principles. What are the 20% that give you 80% of the results? You can do that with your nutrition. You can do that with your training. You can do that with your recovery, with your sleep. Paying attention to the small things that move the needle. Because in all honesty, most coaches, most trainers, most personal trainers in particular, they do quite the opposite, because they want to make you feel like you're doing something, like, oh, like, you know, like I'm putting in the effort and I'm like doing all of this and it makes me feel good. But their body's not changing. They still look the same. So I guess if you're already kind of like doing the effort to exercise, to eat healthy, like you maybe also want to see some results coming from it. Because like, I mean, I've been there myself. Like I'm not like hating on you, but I've been there myself. If you already exercise, you maybe also want to look like it. Because to me, like these days, nothing will be more depressing to be like spending like hours training per week, doing a lot of effort, and then not seeing any results. I mean, it would be like you're working all day and you're like, oh damn, like yeah, like today I hustled and like it got shit done, but you're not making any money of it. Like definitely, like if you're starting a business, of course, like sometimes you have to invest a little bit more time before you get a return. But it means like with your fitness or what you've been doing, you continuously push something in there and not getting anything out of it. And that's not the point. Again, if you want to look how we do that, in the description, thefithighperformer.com/free training. And then I'll see you in the next episode.